afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We're going to continue our recognition of our ancestors that laid foundation for us to be here today. And Sister Jamie has agreed to present on today, and I really appreciate her because I keep calling on her and she asks me why, because she does a good job, I say, but she does. So I'm asking her to come up and present today, and we'll recognize women and continue with our women recognition. Thank you.
All right.
Amen.
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 Love it.
Breaking barriers, Ruth Carol Taylor's impact on aviation. When boarding an aircraft today, passengers are greeted by crew from all races, nationalities, and backgrounds. However, in the 1950s, the aviation industry was very different. Airlines sold glamour along with tickets, and the job then known as stewardess was tightly policed by race and gender norms. Hiring standards were often code of exclusion, and airlines routinely refused black women outright. One woman intended to change all of that. Her name was Ruth Carol Taylor. First worked as a registered nurse before turning her attention to changing the color barriers that existed in American aviation by becoming a flight attendant. Taylor was born in Boston on December 27, 1931, to Ruth Irene Powell Taylor, a nurse, and William Edison Taylor, a barber. At that time, black civil rights in North America were virtually non-existent. This was many years before Martin Luther King made his famous I Have a Dream speech in 1963. And times were very hard for many African Americans. Later, the family moved to upstate New York to set up a farm, and Taylor followed in her mother's footsteps, studying nursing at Bellevue School. Racial prejudice were not only the thing hindering many hopeful air hostesses at the time. It was weight, height, overall appearance, marital status, and age all affected how long your aviation career would last, or if an airline would even hire you as a black woman. Those barriers persisted for many years until crews such as Taylor and Iris Peterson began to fight for equality in the industry. In early 1957, Taylor applied for a job with U.S. major Trans World Airlines. Her application was rejected under physical standards, euphemism frequently used to enforce discriminatory hiring. This angered Taylor immensely, and she was determined to fight back. And fight back she did. Filing a complaint against TWA with the New York State Commission of Discrimination, no action was brought against the airline, but other companies began to rethink their hiring policies for minority crew members. Mid-Atlantic carrier Mohawk Airlines was the first to do so, and Ruth and 800 other black women applied. Taylor was the only one that successfully became hostesses, and in December 1957, she was hired. This was the first of several milestones for Mohawk. When they eventually merged with Alehnine Airlines in 1972, they had broken numerous molds within industry, including becoming the first to use a centralized computer reservation system, the first to utilize flight simulators, and the first regional carrier to inaugurate jet aircraft into service. Taylor's training was completed early the following year, and she was ready to take her first flight. On February 11, 1958, history was made as Ruth Carol Taylor became the first ever African-American flight attendant operating a flight from Ithaca-Thompson Regional Airport to New York JFK Airport.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
This was a groundbreaking event moment in both American and civil aviation history. 3 months later, TWA reversed its decision and finally hired Margaret Grant, the first major U.S. carrier to hire a minority crew member. While Taylor's role had broken racial barriers within the industry, another ridiculous regulation of the time would ultimately lead to her departure just 6 months after hire. Before applying to the airlines, Taylor was engaged to Red Legal, but being a married woman was forbidden by all carriers in the 1950s and 1960s. So as her wedding day approached, she was forced to resign from Mohawk. Although short-lived, her flying career had not only changed the aviation industry forever, but had also made a significant coup in the fight for black civil rights in America. Shortly after leaving, Taylor and her husband moved to the British West Indies, but much like her flying career, her marriage was short, and the couple divorced after the birth of their daughter. Her fight for racial equality didn't stop when she left Mohawk. Taylor continued to work to improve civil rights, reporting on the 1963 March on Washington and becoming an activist for consumer affairs and women's rights. She returned to New York in 1977, where she co-founded the Institute for Interracial Harmony. This institute developed a test to measure racist attitudes known as the racism quotient. In 1985, she wrote a book. The book was called The Little Black Book, Black Male Survival in America, a survival guide for young black men in the United States. Speaking to Jet magazine in 1995, Taylor admitted that she had never actually really wanted to be a stewardess. She merely did it to break racial barriers and to prove that it can be done.
Amen. All right.
It took 50 years after the historic flight for her achievement to be recognized, when in 2008, the New York State Assembly acknowledged her accomplishments. It took a long time for airlines, especially in America, to accept African Americans as equals and hire them as flight attendants. There is no doubt that if it hadn't been for the battle carried out by these incredible women, Marlene White, Margaret Grant, and of course our very own Ruth Carol Taylor, it would have taken much longer for the fight for racial equality within our industry to be won. Taylor sadly passed away on May 12, 2023 at the age of 91.
Amen.
Bear with me because I have one more to do. We are paying honor to one of our very own trailblazers, Sister Carol Allen. She is on the front of your bulletin. It is an honor as well as a privilege to acknowledge the accomplishments of one of our very own, Miss Carol Price Allen. Sister Carol Allen was born in Liberty, North Carolina. She grew up during a time where African Americans were unfairly treated, abused, and constantly led to believe that they were not equal to others. Sister Allen, just as any other little girl, had goals and ambitions she desired to reach. One of her goals was to be a model. In her efforts to fulfill this dream, she tried to register at the John Robert Powers Modeling School in New York. Unfortunately, on her first attempt, she was denied. Persistent in her efforts to reach her goals with the help and aid of Congressman Adam Clayton Powell registering her, she became the first black to attend this modeling school. Sister Allen modeled professionally for 10 years. She was also crowned Miss Subway of New York during a time where blacks were not known to win such events. She is also a graduate of the American School of Broadcasting and Speech in New York. This would explain her dynamic presentation and excellent articulation when she spoke to us. Who would have guessed that Sister Allen had even hosted her own television and radio show? Determined to reach higher heights in life, Sister Allen also graduated from the Interborough Business College in New York. With this training and education, Sister Allen would find herself being in some of the highest positions in corporate America, during a time where corporate America was controlled by who? White men. Sister Allen became the first black in management at a well-known cosmetic company called Helena Rubinstein. She went further to becoming the first black in management in North American Philips, a division of Magnavox. Here she demonstrated her excellent leadership skills and was victorious through God's favor. to become the first Black regional manager. She continued her outstanding career at Canon, USA, where she yet again reached extraordinary accomplishment, being the first Black in the company's senior management. While at Canon, she was insulted, she was called a racist, all because when she started, she hired 18 Blacks. Sister Allen retired from Canon, USA, having reached unimaginable goals and success. I would like to say thank you to Sister Allen for her courage and for her determination. Please know that without Sister Allen, none of this would have happened. She also encouraged all of us young ladies that she interacted with here at the church to reach for higher heights in life. Without a doubt, she was a very amazing and remarkable woman.
Amen. All right, all right.
I'd like to also mention that Sister Carol and Brother Marshall, Trustee Carol, was very instrumental in the foundation of us being here. Amen. And they work as a team, bringing material here, doing a lot of the groundwork to establish us being here. So I'd like for Mr. Marshall to stand, and also like a picture to be taken with Jamie. Okay, if it's okay.